What's up, people? Welcome back to Snack Time. My name is Ben, and in today's video, we are going to be taking a look at ownCloud. So in a nutshell, what ownCloud is an online file storage service that you host yourself. So it's very similar to like Dropbox or OneDrive, but you control where your data is being stored. You control all the settings about the platform, and you don't have to worry about giving your data to a third party that may or may not take it and use it to train its AI. I don't know. So what I'm going to do in this video is show you a little bit about the platform. Then I'm going to basically show you how to set it up on your own server. For that, we will be using Docker, we'll be using Portainer, and we'll also throw an Nginx proxy manager in there just in case you want to make this internet facing and provide this service to maybe friends, families, or coworkers. Well, let's jump into the platform and let me show you what you're going to be getting yourself into. So once you are done installing, we are going to be signing in. I'm just going to be using the default credentials that I have set up here. Use an admin, but you can add additional users. That's not a problem. There's no limit. You can add as many as you want. Just keep in mind that the more users you add, the more space it may take up. So once you sign into the platform, this is the screen that you're going to be presented with. And it's essentially some files and folders that are predefined, some just like sample layouts, but you can delete everything in here if you want and start from scratch. Or we could just kind of add on to it. You click on the little plus symbol up here and we can go to a folder, and let's see, let's add, maybe we have some like wedding photos that we wanted to add. We add our wedding folder and we go into that folder, and then maybe we just drag a couple of images over. And you can do this all from within your web browser, but I think where like the power really is, especially like if you're doing backup and you have machines wanting to keep all the files synced, you can just download their client, which is completely free as well. And you can install it and have it sync from your computer up to your ownCloud account. So I think that's pretty cool. And basically it's a great way to back up your files, right? So once you do have them on here though, pretty basic, pretty straightforward. We can open them up, we can modify them, we can look at thumbnails. Let's see, we can also delete them. Really all basic stuff, right? It's a file manager. You know, it's boring, but I think one of the most powerful features of this software is not just a place to put your files. That's the easy part. It's all the extra applications that come along with ownCloud. So if you click on the little hamburger icon up here at the top, you'll have this icon called Market. And we click on Market, it's going to show us a bunch of these third-party applications that we can install into our ownCloud with pretty much just the click of a button. There's applications that do all sorts of stuff. There's calendars, there's collaboration software that allows you to have, like, very similar to if you've ever used like Microsoft Office Online. Well, they have ones that are very similar to that. It's like a word processor and Excel. Collabora is really cool because you can actually run this as a Docker container as well. So it's using your system resources and it's not depending on a third party. You don't have anybody to pay with this. You essentially set up the server, make the connection within the back end of the settings, and there you go. The only downside is that it's going to require a little bit more computational power. So if you're running a server with maybe just like 1 gig or 2 gigs of memory, you may see a little bit of a drag there. But let's find one that is like super easy to install and also extremely helpful. Before we do that, password manager or password policy here. This will help you set password policies. That's pretty cool, right? Let's keep going down here. There's one that I want. I don't know if you guys have seen my video on draw.io, but I think it's an awesome little diagram software. And it's a great example to show you how easy it is to install an application. So I find my draw.io, I'm going to hit install. And in a couple of seconds, it's done. That's all you gotta do. Uninstall is the same way. You find your program, just click on install. Check this out. So let's go back to our files. And let's go under our wedding folder and let's make a new file. Check it out. I don't know if you see it, but boom, diagram. Let's call this seating chart. I want to say diagram. That sounds more cool. If I can spell, I can't spell. So once we click on that, check it out. Like we have, I doubt they're gonna have seating in here. Wouldn't that be cool? No, that's okay. Probably floor plan. I think probably floor plan would be better. There you go. There's a floor plan. Oh. All right. So this is just like one of their pre-made samples. Obviously, it's if you know you're having a wedding, you're probably not going to be in an office building. But hey, man, to each their own. But from here, you can modify this file. Everything that you can do within, you know, draw.io, except check out, like you're still on your site. It's just reaching out to the draw.io server and making that happen for you. But once we're all done, we can save it and exit. And there we go. We have our seating chart saved on our ownCloud server. So if we ever wanted to come back into there, we could just click on it. It'll load everything for us and we're ready to go. Definitely really cool. And it's like that with a lot of the applications. Basically, we go to our market again, just kind of scroll down, take a look, see if there's anything that's interesting for you and load it up, like two-factor authentication. I do want to point out one thing. Not all of these applications are free. Some of them, I don't know if you remember or if I said it, but ownCloud is partially open source, partially commercial. They do have an enterprise edition, and some of these applications do require that license. It's not going to prevent you from installing it. However, it is going to bug you for an enterprise license and tell you only have so many days you can trial it. So if you want to know what the price is for the ownCloud Enterprise, if that's something you want to, the direction you want to move into, the best way to find that out is just to head up to their site. Once you're there, click on their products, click on their pricing. It's all based on the number of users that you're going to have, and it's also billed monthly. This is you self-hosting it. If you wanted them to host it, the price is different. But this is considering you self-hosting the server, and this is the price. Now you can see the community edition has a whole bunch of features, right? It has desktop apps, mobile apps. You can load it on your phone. You access your files whenever you want to, but you're not going to get support, and you're not going to get enterprise features. And those enterprise features, a lot of the times, are the different applications like ransomware protection. Kind of cool, right? Awesome feature to have, but you're going to have to pay for it. So just something to keep in mind before you take this to your boss and say, Bob, I found the best file server ever, and you won't have to pay a dime for it. We can get rid of that stupid Dropbox subscription. Never have to worry about it. We just need to provide a server to put it on. Maybe this laptop that's in the corner. Don't do that. So, like I said, you got that license there. And if you're in here, you can also go to their website under their marketplace for ownCloud, and you can see a lot of the enterprise applications, and they'll tell you that the license requires ownCloud commercial licensing, and then you can click on that and read about all the fun commercial licensing fun. So, all right, let's do this. Let's jump back now that we've covered a little bit of the marketplace. I want to show you a little bit of the configuration you can do in the back end. We go to admin, we go to settings. We do have a couple of options. So this is just bare bones. Those applications do offer and add, more settings to this, but this is just, out of the box what you're going to get. So this is all just our personal settings, but if we come down a little bit farther, we can see the admin section, and we can go to apps. This will show you all the applications that we have installed on our server. So if you decided, I no longer want people to be able to take notes, I don't want them to be able to view media, you can enable and disable all of the functions from within here. Once they are disabled, you'll also be able to uninstall them. But if you just disable them in here, you're not going to be presented with the uninstallation option quite yet. Say I don't want to have Draw.io anymore. I don't like it. I'm going to hit disable, then I can go up to show disabled apps. And once you're in show disabled apps, here's where you can come in and we can re-enable it. or we can pretty much just completely nuke it, hit uninstall, and it's gone. If you're evaluating an app, this is a great way to do that. And if you said, hey, maybe I want this a later date, that's fine. You can see there is a bunch of other applications that are disabled by default that you can re-enable, but they come with a cost. Not so much of a money cost. Well, maybe it is a little bit, but mostly a CPU hit. Yeah, right. So the more applications you enable and you load up on here, the more it's going to demand of your memory and your processor. Moving on down the line, do we have an enterprise application or enterprise license? Yeah, we can put it in here. We don't. Cron jobs, system status, storage. How much storage do we have? And do we want to be able to use external storage as well? Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, sure. We have our security. I did enable that password policy, so I get extra password goodness here. I can say, hey, you need to do this or that. You need to have at least 25 special characters. I can also enable two-factor from here across all my users. Encryption, that's kind of cool. I can enable server-side encryption, and this will make it so that any files that are going on to my server are going to be encrypted. Sharing, you can define your sharing policy. What can people share, what can't they, what kind of permissions can they provide to those shared people. And then lastly, you have some of your diagnostics. How's your server running? And if you have any sort of additional admin settings that did not fall into any of these other groups. As you add more applications, you also may have more options than I do. So it should correspond with whatever app that you loaded. That's pretty much about it. I hope you found this to be really beneficial, and I hope that you're going to stick around and try to install it. We're going to run through the whole process right now. So get your Docker hat on and let's get this thing deployed and see what you think. All right, I'll see you over there in just a second. All right, so let's start this journey where we usually start our journeys, and that is within Portainer. So for this, we are going to be using stacks, because there is a whole lot of components that goes along with the ownCloud installation. And let's click on Add Stack. All right, going to give it a name, call it ownCloud. And now we need to find our Docker Compose file. The great thing about ownCloud, and it's pretty much a lot of commercial support, is that they do make it as easy as possible to install this. So only thing that we need to do is let's do this. Let's do ownCloud Docker installation. Let's see how easy they can make this. Boom, very first thing. So if we scroll down, it's saying, do you want to quickly evaluate it? No, I want to fully install it. Here we go. Here is everything that we're going to need as far as our Docker Compose file. And it has everything set up exactly the way that we would normally like to have it set up. That's with it creating the volumes for us within Portainer. There's no paths that we need to change. It even provides this lovely little env file for us. So very nice and generous of it. Let's do this. Let's build it straight off of what they have here. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go back to my Portainer and I'm going to paste it. We're going to go and look at this kind of not line by line, but section by section in just a second. What I want to make sure that we do get is our env file. Let's copy that. And it also, if you are wanting to know, want to skip ahead, there is some section here below that will describe a little bit about what we're going to be customizing. All right, so let's head back to Portainer. Let's scroll down and let's click on, do you see where it says advanced mode right here? We click on advanced mode, we can just paste in that env file. We don't need EOF and we don't need the cat at the very top of this file, but the rest of it we will be using. All right, let's jump back out. So let's take a look at this Docker Compose file and let me break down each section for you so you kind of know what it's doing and what to expect. Let's start by zooming in just a little bit and let's scroll down. We're basically here we're establishing all of our volumes that we're going to be using and the names that they're going to be using. That's totally cool. Some people do it at the bottom, some people do it at the top. That's fine. One thing to note is whenever you see this $sign and the little brackets, that means that this particular variable is being established in the environment file. So if you do scroll down all the way down here, you'll see the ownCloud version is 10.15, and that is being pulled right here. So just something to keep in mind. And the reason that we are specifying our version down there at the bottom and we're not using latest is because if you are hosting this maybe for like your business or for a group of people and you don't want to have the latest version, maybe it has a bug or something and you don't want to be affected by that until you've had time to evaluate it and test it or let others do that, then it's a great way to control your version. If you wanted to be bleeding edge, there's nothing stopping you from changing this to latest. Nothing at all. All right, so if we go down a little bit more, we're going to be establishing our container name. That's fine. A restart policy as always, which means if this machine comes to a screeching halt and then it powers back up, this service will also power up automatically. We're specifying our ports here. This is pulling the port number from our environment file at the bottom, which is going to be, looks like 8080, I think. Yeah. So if you scroll down, you'll see it's 8080 down here. So since we are going to be routing all of our traffic through Nginx Proxy Manager, I'm going to comment this out. But if you want to run this locally, and you don't want to run it through Nginx Proxy Manager, you can leave this uncommented. And when it comes time to the Nginx Proxy Manager part of this video, you can just skip right over it. But I am going to be doing that because I want this to be internet facing, pretty much like all my stuff. If you're self-hosting it on a server, on a cloud server, then it's pretty much going to be a given for you. But that's not always the same thing for everybody else. That's not the same case, so that's okay. All right, so our depends on is telling us, you know what, this service is only going to run if these two containers are also running. So we have Redis and Mariah, which we will cover down there at the bottom in a second. All right, so our domain, we're established at the bottom. Right now it's set for local host. You can see that there, but we'll be changing that to our subdomain very shortly. Let's see, trusted domain name, that is going to be our domain name too, which means that's what we're going to be calling it. So if you ever are running this server and you're trying to get to it from a different domain name, if it's not in trusted, it's not going to work. It's just a security thing. All right, so we have our ownCloud username and password. Right now, they are not established in the environment file. They are defined right here. So if you want to change that to be something else, if you're hosting it on a cloud server and you want to make sure that it's extra secure, you can change these. There'll probably be a couple other places you'll have to make sure that they're also changed, specifically down here in our environment for the Mariah, but we'll show you that in a second. The host is just the container name, MariahDB. We have our admin username and password, which is defined in the environment, and that's admin and admin. The rest of the stuff we really don't have to worry about. If you wanted to change that, that's fine, but I'm not going to cover that. Is it going to be using Redis? I'm going to say yes. That is going to be our caching service. It'll make it so that our server really pops, especially if you have a decent amount of memory to throw at this. Health test, this is just a way for the servers to know, am I running and am I doing everything that I'm supposed to be doing? And lastly, we have our files. This is where our files are going to be stored. This is a very important path to be aware of. And if you are backing up your volumes nightly, which you should be, especially if you're running this production, then we'll want to make sure that this files volume is backed up, at least this one. Next up, we have our image is defining the version number here for MariahDB is 10.11. It says minimum required is 10. You can change this to latest, but then again, you know, same thing as before. Are you going to be running it in any sort of bugs? Yeah, you never know. We kind of skip over a lot of this. This is the same stuff we really established. Same kind of repeating theme here. Make sure your passwords match. Make sure your database name matches if you decide to change this. There's nothing wrong with leaving it as it is. Just know it's a risk. It's anytime you leave anything as the default password and username, there is obviously risk associated with that, especially if you have people that have access to that server, if it's cloud-based or something. Next up is our Redis, and that is pretty much defined. It's pretty much that's it. It's set up to do one database, it looks like, and that's cool. That's really all you really need, especially for this. We're not going to be doing too much with that. Lastly, do want to show you the environment variable that we did copy here. The username and password are established here at the bottom. If you want to change that to something else, something super secure like password, then this is the place that you would do that. Otherwise, it'll be admin until you get into the platform and you're able to adjust this variable through the users section. But always best practice to go ahead and set that to something secure. If you do know what your domain is going to be, now is a good time to establish that. I know what mine is going to be. I'm going to make it ownCloud.simhow.com. And my domain for my local hosted trust, blah, 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 is also going to be the same thing. All right. With that being said, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. And we are going to hit the deploy stack. This is the first time you've done this. This is going to take a lot longer than it just took me. And that's because I already had it on my machine initially. So the images were already there. Let's go under ownCloud. And it's loading and booting right now. So we should go ahead and proceed to the next step, which is going to be establishing our subdomain and building out all the settings for Nginx Proxy Manager. This is the step that I told you if you are doing this locally, then you can pretty much skip over. And instead, what you will do is you will go to your server address and then :8080, and that should bring up your server. Now, hopefully you didn't change the trusted domain to anything, or maybe you changed it to your IP address. That's fine too. Not really covering the internal portion setup of this. Really just going to be concentrating on making sure that our ownCloud is reachable from the net. All right, so let's establish our subdomain first. I'm going to copy my IP address, and where I'm at here is under the DNS management for my domain, and that is under Namecheap. If you're with GoDaddy or another registrar, it may be in a little different spot, or if you're hosting your own DNS, obviously you should know how to create an A record, which is what we're going to do now. Let's click on Add New Record, and we'll click on A record, and let's give it a name, ownCloud. And our IP address will be the external IP address of our server. Hit Save Changes. Cool. And once we have that, let's hop on over to our Portainer. Looks like all of our servers started and they're all running healthy. Cool. All right, let's go back to our containers and let's find our Nginx Proxy Manager. If you've not set up the Nginx Proxy Manager, take a look at one of my other videos where I walk you through setting up Portainer and Docker and Nginx, all of it, because that's a little bit more involved than we want to get into in this video. Once we are in our Nginx container, let's scroll all the way down. I'm going to make myself a little smaller so you can see. And if you see where it says select network, let's drop that down and let's click on our ownCloud default. And then let's hit join network. So if we scroll all the way down again, lo and behold, here is our ownCloud default. Cool. All right, so that means that Nginx is now on the same network as ownCloud, which means it can forward traffic there. Without this step, you're going to run into some gateway errors, and that's never fun. So once we're in our Nginx proxy manager, let's go to our proxy host button, and let's click on add new proxy host. We'll zoom in so you can see. So here we're going to add our subdomain, ownCloud.senhow.com. And we're going to specify our host name or IP address. And if you don't remember what that was, that's okay. Let's go back to Portainer. Let's go to our containers. And it's going to be not the database, not the cache server, but the ownCloud_server name here. Let's copy this guy. All right, and let's zoom back in. And let's paste him. All right, so now we're going to need our port. And do you remember what that was? It's okay if you forgot, honestly. It's you were busy doing other things. We were copying and pasting. I'm going to give you a hint. It's 8080. But if you wanted to find out what it was really quickly and easily, honestly, just hop back to your original container file and just find our port. So you can see right here that our port that we commented out was this right here, but it's still expecting to see traffic on 8080. That's the container. That's what port that the container is expecting to hear from. So we don't want to disappoint it. So let's provide that to our host. So let's do 8080. I'm going to do block common exploits and WebSocket support, and I'm going to hit save. And once it's done saving, we do want to add some encryption to it. Obviously, we don't want to be sending our files unencrypted across the internet. So let's click on this little dot over here and go to edit. Again, zooming in, and let's hit SSL. And we're going to request a new one. We're going to force SSL. We don't want someone just to get away with not using encrypted traffic. And we're going to agree to the terms of service. Once this spins for a little while, it's going to get our SSL cert. And if everything went well, you should see let's encrypt under the SSL column. All right, and speaking of did everything go well, let's click on our domain here and see if we can get to our new site. All right, so if everything went okay, then let's try our admin. There we go. Cool. It's letting us know that everything went fine. You're signed in, and here are the different applications that you can download to sync files from your desktop to ownCloud. So you see it has Google, it has Android, it has Apple, and it has Windows and OS X and Linux. Pretty much every OS you can think of, there is a client that you can run. Well, guys, that pretty much sums up this video. And just to let you know, at the same time I released this video, I also released one about Nextcloud, kind of a competitor of ownCloud, built by a lot of the same people, but little subtle differences. I definitely encourage you to check it out. Maybe run both of them, see which one you like more. But either way, I hope you found this helpful. And if you did, please consider giving me a thumbs up. Or if you didn't, it's okay to give me a thumbs down. And as always, if you have any questions, any comments, please leave them down below. I always look forward to hearing from you guys. I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Sony.